Testes, testes. 1, 2, 3. Testes, testes. 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check. Testes, testes. 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check. Testes, testes. 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check. Testes, testes. 1, 2, 3. All right. I don't know if this mic is picking up actually or not. Let's see here. I don't know if this mic is picking up actually or not. Check, 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 check. I don't know if this mic is picking up actually. Check, 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 check. Nope, that's not doing anything. Check, 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 check. Let's see here. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Mr. Osgood here, East Carbon here. What's the matter, yous here? Hi, everybody. All right, so what's going on with the Mikey? What's Mikey doing here? Did we lose it? Did we lose it? What's going on? Let's figure this out. Try that again. And all right, let's see how this works. Check, testes, 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 testes. Testes, testes. Oh, there we go. All right, I can mute that now. There we go. Figured it out. There. Technical difficulties. I was trying to see if these were Bluetooth compatible, which they're not. So I had unplugged it from the phone, and then when I went to plug the cord back in, this plugs into the phone, the receiver. Wasn't quite in all the way, so I wasn't actually, the receiver wasn't talking to the phone. So now we're talking everything. And it's time for a Tweaker coffee. So, let's see here. Let's get the chat blowed up. All right, already a bunch of tweaking going on in the chat. It's always good to see. Jody just stumbled in. Welcome, welcome. Can I use FF to look ahead in time? Skip all the boring parts? Well, there'd be nothing left to watch. Oh, nice cold remnants of Tweaker coffee. All right, let's get some water going and brew up some fresh tweak juice. How's everybody doing today? Well, that's good. It's good to hear. So, this is going to be another show about nothing. I made some progress on the truck, so I guess that's not nothing. I can give you a bit of the update there. Oh. Oh yeah, it picks up the burps, a nice crisp audio quality sound. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Justin in the house, Larata to you, my friend. All right, let's continue our setup here. Get the chat behind the camera. I'm not always looking down. There we go. It's not terrible. Better if I had it over here. I don't know if that's going to happen. No, it's all blocked up. Nope, not like that. This YouTubing is hard. I need a crew to help me out here. All right, that's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. All right, anybody find Nancy yet? Is Nancy still missing? Where's Granny at? Oh my goodness, folks. So we're making travel plans already for this week. Give myself a couple more days to get this truck started. What I ended up finding was when I had done the injectors, I had to unplug a few sensors. One of the sensors is the ICP, otherwise known as the injector control pressure sensor. And I thought I had repaired that last time I was working on the truck back in 2004 or somewhere around there, when I replaced the high pressure oil pump. And I figured rather than try to overthink this, let's just go back over what I actually touched on the truck this time. And so I unplugged the ICP sensor and the IPR sensor, IPR pressure valve. IPR is injection pressure regulator valve. And those are tough to get at. They're just buried way under the firewall, behind the turbo, under the intake. And so I had to reach my scrawny little chimp-like wrists in there and work these things off. And to my dismay, when I went and inspected the harness, there's a 3-wire plug that goes to the ICP, the sensor, and a 2-wire connector that goes to the IPR, the control valve, or the regulator valve. And all the wires on the ICP sensor were all together, so it was completely shorting out. So I made that repair, plugged it all back in, and now I've got communication with the scan tool. So I have no idea why that short in that circuit would cause loss of communication. I believe it, I just don't have a good explanation as to why. And even looking on the wiring diagram, it's not clear that the ICP affects the communication system. There's typically a couple of manners that the computer communicates with modules on the truck. Intermodule communication. It could be a CAN bus system, CAN high, CAN low. Maximo's here. Missed many a tweak fest. I've been good. I'm trying not to tweak out too hard, but can't say I'm always successful at avoiding the tweak out. But I've been very stiff too. My back is stiff, my arm is stiff, my brain is stiff, my eyeballs are stiff. It's a cozy little gathering, except Dad. Where's Dad at? Well, Dad better get in here soon because we're about to tweak hard on one of these babies. Oh, we're still pouring coffee, so let's get the coffee done with. So now I've got communication in the truck now. The modules are kind of talking to each other. It's not just bricked. And I turned the key and I was suspecting I had a parasitic drain somewhere. So this morning, or I don't know, a couple hours ago, yeah, it's 12:30 here. Up my multimeter to see hours ago, I hooked at the battery. And it was like less than 5 millivolts, or milliamps, pardon me, milliamps. Which is okay, like, because I was finding the batteries were not holding a charge. And so what I did since that parasitic draw test is I unclipped both batteries. I put the charger on each battery, so I'm gonna see if they're gonna hold a charge just unconnected. And then, so the batteries are unplugged, and hopefully as well, the modules will kind of do a self-reset. And then I'll go and plug everything in, but it's a little snowy out there. So working with wiring and connectors, I didn't want to be working when everything's wet. So the hood is closed. We're just sitting, waiting for the snow to stop, which should be in the next, I don't know, hour or so. I'll go out there, sweep everything off. And what I have left to do is kind of the reassembly of all the other parts that I had dismantled to get to that, the various wiring harnesses that I was checking and those sensors. So I gotta kind of just reassemble it all, hoping that any other wiring issues I come across are accessible. And so I'll maybe show you once I get back. Let's see, is it still snowing? It's kind of tapering off, but we'll watch the forecast. See, it's supposed to snow until about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. But I want to see that thing at least crank over. And I mean, to complicate things, the high pressure oil system is not fully charged with oil yet. So I might have to recharge the batteries a few times to get it to the point where it'll start. I'm just happy that it's at the point where it'll want to crank. So I got to make sure everything's there. I did a scan with this thing again, and it showed no faults in the transmission control module. It showed me some faults in the generic electrical cluster, which is the fuse box essentially. So it's still not happy, but I still have a bunch of stuff unplugged. So once I get everything all buttoned up, maybe my chances of success at starting that thing will start to go up. But that's kind of where we're at with that. So it's all in pieces. I got to go back and tape up all the wiring harnesses that I had pulled apart, because I got kind of strands of loose wires all over the place. They're not all disconnected, but they're all out of the, I peeled all the tape off, so that all has to be taped back up. So there's kind of a fair amount of work. You're out of the Uber, where I can turn the volume up. All right, I don't know if that's gonna help you, but you do you. Believe it or not, Brent muted isn't all that entertaining. Imagine my shock. Some people would take that as a bit of a jab, but you have my full agreement. I mean, Brent is not entertaining by any means. You guys are entertaining me, just to clarify. So you guys are the stars. I'm basically just following you. So what else was I gonna yabber on about? There's something else about the truck there. That couldn't have been important. The plan for this week is I'll give myself a couple more days to get that thing fired up. Otherwise, Thursday I'll probably run into town. If I can't get it going by Thursday morning, I'll go pick up a rental car and then do my few days trip back east, and then come back here early next week with the rental car. So that's kind of the plan. And if I can get the truck started and I'm satisfied that it's going to make the trip, then I'll just hop in the truck. But Thursday is kind of, I'll go pick up the car Thursday and probably leave Friday from here, and then be back whenever. A couple of days drive to get home, a couple of days back, so that's 4 days, and then I'm gonna spend maybe a night or two back home. That's it. Or back in the geographic location where I was hatched. So not too much exciting going on. Very little going on around town here, as usual. And it's getting cold here, so it's kind of a good time to leave towards the end of this week. It's supposed to get down to like minus 20 Celsius Wednesday night or Thursday night. So that's like, I don't know, minus 5, minus 10 degrees Fester. And so yeah, so we're still consulting our wiring diagrams and on the old laptop here. I think I might still come across some other issues with the truck, but first things first, we'll get it all hooked up, try to crank it. Like I do have a response from the key now. It's just, I was finding too something odd is when I plug this in, it shows, I don't know if it's not going to get me into a diagnostics mode without it being hooked up. I'll just let that boot up. A shout out to Uber. Uber, if you need a sponsorship partnership, feel free to hit me up. I've used your services quite a number of times. Very handy, very handy. It's not the cheapest way to run around, but it sure is convenient. All right. Let's see. Come on, unlock. Yeah, cold dead hands can't even swipe up. All right, that's it. So, for instance, let's see. Yeah, there's no power, so it's not going to connect to anything. But anyways, suppose we're in diagnostics mode. When you're scanning the vehicle, it shows out a readout of your battery voltage, and I find through the scan tool, through the DLC connector, the data link connector, I'm always at a lower battery voltage on the tool than what I measure at the battery terminals with the multimeter, the voltmeter. So I'm kind of taking that as a clue that there's still something that's draining power when I go to start it. But again, I've been messing around with so many wires. Hopefully that leaving the truck, the batteries unplugged for a time will cause all the modules to settle down. And then when I reconnect the batteries again, we'll cross our fingers, hope for the best. Well, let's see. Let's go see if it's still snowing. It's kind of not snowing. Let's just go for a little walk here. Let's just see what we can see. Let's just see. Yeah, it's snowing a little bit yet. So there's that wiring harness that all needs to be taped up. There's another one underneath to the transmission. It's all going to be taped up. This one's got to be taped up again. This is the FICM fuel injection control module. That's got to be bolted down. This bracket goes underneath it, holds it down to the valve cover, but the valve cover's got to be retightened down. There's a degas bottle for the coolant that lives right here. That's got to be hooked up to this hose. The air cleaner lives where the battery is sitting right now. I've got to tape up all those covers. I've got these covers that go on top of the computer connectors. That's all got to be taped up. And then the hose to the turbo inlet's got to be reattached. So there's a fair amount of work to do just to get this back up. This is the air filter gauge. It tells you if your air filter is clogged. The mass airflow sensor needs to be reattached. So there's a couple of sensors that are still disconnected. I think everything's all buttoned up on this side for the most part. Just got to reattach those battery terminals. I'll check these batteries to see if they're holding a charge or not. Let's see. Okay, that one's still good. But just because I've got voltage doesn't mean my cranking amps are where they need to be. So this one is a used battery. I really should, I got the other battery in the RV. I might have to get my good battery out. See, this one is, yeah, this voltmeter I think is tweaking out. It's all over the place. 14, that shouldn't be 14. I don't believe it's 14. So maybe this battery, this used battery is no good. That could be part of my issues as well. Yeah, I don't think it should be that high, is it? Yeah, it could be just some excess charge or something on the battery. Let's let that trickle down. But yeah, the other day I was going to go after that wireless entry module, and I just gave it a visual inspection. I didn't do any testing on it. There's a few pins on some of these connectors that I can check for signal once I've got it all back together, but I think once it is back together, we'll be mostly on our way. Let's see, it's climbing down. Let's see where it stops. And that connector that I was looking at the other day, or yesterday, it lives way back behind there. It's can't even really see. It's not even it. Just kind of barely see it. It is deep, deep, deep back there. It's not a fun one to play around with. It's going down. Yeah, it could be just some kind of surface charge or something on the. Yeah, that's ground to ground and it's showing a little bit of voltage, so who knows? We'll see. I might still have some bad grounds in this truck, just in general. There's one right here you can see. That green wire. That one, I think I tested that one already. It's good. So the puzzle is still not entirely solved, but we're getting there. At least my key is doing something now when I crank it over. But we'll close the hood. So you can see it's still a few snowflakes falling, but I don't want to get too wet working on it. I don't want to get all the stuff wet either. So we'll just hang out in the mobile tweak shack. Tweak a little more. So that's where we're at with the truck. And that's really been my only project to work on. So if you don't know, you don't know. Is that how the saying goes? So I can shut this off. Should probably just plug this in. So I got some good power when I go to use it again. And that's about it. YouTube and the internet is pretty much dead as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing to watch ever. I've seen it all. All I've got left to watch are T-Light's car chase police dash cam videos. That's the only thing that's remotely interesting. Let's see what. Chili lost his lawsuit, going to appeal. If you don't know, you don't know. What's the matter, you? If you're not familiar with it today, well, you're gonna get familiar with it. No dad sightings yet? Okay. Yeah, speaking of dad sightings, well, thank you to Dad for being a contributor to the Buy Me a Coffee scam. Let's just see here. Which if anybody else is interested in keeping the tweaks going, the way to do that share. Should we do a little share here? You can go ahead and follow the pinned link, which I posted right there. Pin that sucker. It was a predictable loss. Well, yeah, Chili himself was saying he didn't expect to win. With the few details I have, it seemed like the jury was highly biased. I don't know how they agreed to all those jurors that were clearly going to, yeah, you click on that link and you tell me how many coffees you want me to buy you in dollars, and just give your information, and I think that's the way it works, allegedly. I don't know how any of this stuff works, but yeah, we need coffee to fuel the tweak streams here. But for sure, seating a bunch of jurors that were definitely not going to be impartial. I mean, I don't know how at jury selection you would go with that unless you ran through the whole jury pool. Like, that's just seems nonsensical. So, and that was in Nevada, so I don't know if it's a bunch of statists in that court or in that district, or was it? It was a district court he was in. I don't even know. It kind of doesn't matter. But good luck to Chili, who was following through on the lawsuit. Kind of skeptical that there's going to be any positive results. I mean, Badger was all excited there was going to be a $200,000 party with some coke, allegedly. I don't think Chili ever said there was going to be coke involved, but it's just a natural assumption that if you're going to have a $200,000 party, there might be some coke there. But I don't know. That might just be an assumption. Speaking of coke-filled parties, I guess, I did see your community post there, what's the matter you, on the ISS. I think all that fakery has been debunked. So, I mean, a lot of those clips are out of context. I'm pretty sure I've seen that very video, and I've seen those clips, and they're mostly all taken out of context. I mean, the ISS is real. If there's some fakery going on, they may have their reasons, but when you have a 5-hour-long continuous stream where they're taking you on tours of the space station, and I mean, you can't fake that. So the thing's been photographed. You can see it with your bare eyes. I mean, it's not a thing. That's not a thing. So I think it's just a misunderstanding of how, I guess, photography works. So I don't know. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but there's a lot of shenanigans, let's just say, a lot of tweak shenanigans going on the internet, trying to debunk stuff that's not really a thing. So that's just my take on it. So I mean, I can go through that video and pick it apart piece by piece, but numerous other creators have already done that. So it's not something we cover on this channel. So I guess the question I would pose is, like, what would it take to get, and don't get me wrong, I'm cynical as hell. Yeah, Pepsi party. We're gonna have a Pepsi party. A Dr. Pepper party. I got Dr. Pepper here too. Once I finish this coffee, we'll tie into the Dr. Pepper. If you're doubting, like, what would it take to make you believe? Like, to take you on a trip right to the space station itself? Like, I don't know. Been trying to explain to Chile that no, there's nothing virtuous about our courts putting aside common sense in favor of complicated procedures that mean only those wealthy enough to hire the best lawyers can get justice, and in fact can be above justice. Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with any of the themes on this channel, is all of life is a scam, and the courts are one of the scammiest scams. Fueled by the support of government and the people that the government allegedly scammily represents. So there's a lot of buy-in that's required. And I think Chile is somewhat of a statist, like he believes in the rule of law. Another prime example is Lane Myers. He was a firm believer that the law was going to be upheld. The law as written, but the law as written kind of disregards the evil of men's hearts that through the rules of procedure, court procedure, allows all manner of shenanigans to take place. And as a wise badger has kind of been trying to point out, is like, at what point do you feel you've gotten remedy? Because fighting through the quote-unquote legal system, justice system, I mean, that takes potentially a lot of time, energy, money. You could be doing other things. So even if you end up with $1 million settlement, I mean, Chile spent, what, 6 months in jail, 5 months in jail. The physical toil of that ordeal, plus the mistreatment during the arrest, and he got his balls, he got a little bit testicle volleyball going on there, and so it's like, at what point can you say enough is enough? I've got my justice. Like, there's trade-off, right? Like how much damage are you willing to sustain to get some result? Now, I see in Chile too. This isn't going to be a Chile stream, but there's the principle of it, which is noble, virtuous, if you want to say that. But it's almost like there's a desire to make some case law. And if you're, again, a statist and you feel that system can be changed from improving the system, I have my doubts. I have my doubts. The track record is, especially up here in Canada, like our courts are just a complete shit show. So there is no common sense, common law. There is no equity. There is no justice for all. It's certain groups are favored, certain individuals are made examples of. So yeah, there's maybe a drive to see De Castro versus Nevada state troopers or whatever jurisdiction he's battling against currently. And that's going to start the ball rolling to help improve the government's recognizing our rights or something. Rights are a scam, I guess. Or the government's acknowledgement that you have rights is somewhat scammy. So it's like Lane Myers to me was the red pill, is that he was doing something that not every mere mortal could do, because he had the rules of court procedure down in a much more functional way than your average pro se litigant would have, pro se defendant, what have you. And he got my attention in that he was making things happen. And all was going well until it didn't. And kind of the way they dealt with Lane was a bit of a wake-up call, is that even if you're doing all the right things, saying all the right words, Lane was famous for saying all the wrong words and still getting good results, because he was able to communicate up to a point with the court to get them to do what he wanted to do, to get the prosecutors to do what he wanted to do, which is drop the charges. And so we saw all these criminal charges dropped one by one, until the prosecutor's office, the court staff itself was able to rally and come up with a strategy to neutralize his offense, his offensive strategy against them. So they make the rules. They know the game better than you or I ever will, and that's just the reality of it. So I don't. I'm skeptical that remedy, in the sense that we feel we're going to get justice one day, is available. I'm always hopeful, but I guess my cynicism kind of takes over at a certain point. So good luck to Chile. Good luck to everybody who's either fighting the good fight. I feel it's not my fight to take up. There's, like, I saw somebody comment, and I guess this I'm about to make maybe the first controversial statement on this channel ever. I think it was kind of Eric Brandt. Some of you are familiar with Eric Brandt, in that the only way to properly make a revolution in this area is through, how would you say, more violent means. So I'll just let you fill in the blanks as to what that means to you. But the concept of the courtroom being the battleground, and that a legal court hearing is the setting for where the war takes place. Well, that's in the mind of the statist, where in reality, wars are not necessarily fought with a pen. They're fought with other tools. Let's put it that way. Get your tools out, right? Now, in Canada here, there's no will to find the appropriate tools and to make the kind of revolution that I think a lot of us here have in mind. And I'm not suggesting anybody start searching out tools in order to make that a reality in the earth. But I think the litigious manner of fighting out our battles in the courtroom, that's going to be a thing of the past. I mean, I could give example after example. Like here up in Canada, going back to the scandemic, the really bad cough that everybody got a few years back. Well, they used the Emergency Powers Act so that the federal government could do essentially what they wanted to do. They were imprisoning people, shutting down bank accounts with no probable cause. And that had to do with that trucker rally that was going on way back in 2022, somewhere around there, like right around this time, like 4 years ago now. It was happening like as we speak 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. 2022, it seems to me that was when that was going down. Could have been 2021. I mean, it's such a blur. But numerous courts, right up to our Supreme Court, has ruled that the government's use of, it used to be called the War Measures Act, and it was renamed the Emergency Measures Act, I believe, was completely disproportional to the perceived threat. And so it was deemed unconstitutional by our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our enshrined document that ensure our rights and protections from Big Daddy government. And the government kept appealing it. They kept losing, appealed right up into the highest court in the land, and they were basically told what you did was wrong, illegal. But is there any recompense, any remedy for the people that were harmed during that time? Maybe there's going to be lawsuits that'll be coming up, but even back then when it was happening, there was not a law firm in all of Canada that would take up your case against the government in relation to how they were handling and making policies during COVID. So it's one thing to say, I'm going to fight the government, but if the entire legal profession is basically tied up and is not interested in taking up your fight, well, that leaves it up to you. And now you're back in the arena of, you got to learn the rules of civil procedure. You got to learn how to write your own motions and your own lawsuits. And for the average person, it's not going to happen. People are supposed to forget, and it gets worse every time. Yeah, and the wheels of justice turn excruciatingly slow. Like what it was 4 years now that the government took those measures or instituted that protection for the national security of the former nation of Canada. And it's just, I don't know, since Christmas or around Christmas time that they got the final decision from the Supreme Court. So it takes a long time to get that alleged justice through these means. So it's a bit of a shit show. It's a shit show up here. It's a shit show down there, where a lot of people are watching from the States. It's a shit show all over the world. And it's kind of just the way it is. So am I saying there's nothing you can do? No, of course not. It's don't be distracted by all the legalities of things and just go do your own thing. Find a way to live as you want to live. So there's more than one way to fill a tweaker full of coffee. Let's just put it that way. Speaking of tweakers full of coffee, where's Ruff? He hopped in that. Is it a Challenger he's got or a Charger? I thought it was a 4-door, but maybe he's got the Challenger. But that Tweaky Challenger he was set off in, and then there was a community post where he got that outfit to go start his job at the Olive Garden as a waiter that he had on his DirectD community post page. So that's been almost a week. So we're waiting to see where Ruff turns up. I'm very interested to see where that crash out goes. I think the crash out is accelerating, so that's a good thing. The 2025 Tweak Fest was something to behold. 2026 is kind of off to I wouldn't say it's altogether lame, but it's much more muted and subdued. The quality of tweak that's going on YouTube is nowhere near what it was at this time last year. So it's not over. We still got a lot of 2026 to go. Like somebody could just leap out in front and take the stage, get the spotlight shining on them as tweaker extraordinaire on YouTube. But so far, you know, Finkel and Todd and Ryder, they're not giving us what we need. So sometimes we don't get the tweaker we deserve, we get the tweaker we need. Or is it vice versa? We don't get the tweaker we need, we get the tweaker we deserve. And so Ruff is kind of showing some signs of interest in wanting to be that tweaker. So we'll see what happens. We shall see. There's something related to that. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to go full tweak-tard here, unless I absolutely have to. So. It started snowing here. Well, dang. Yeah, there's some snow on the coast. But all in all, it's been a very nice, mild winter here. We're getting a little bit of ferocious February weather coming up in the next few days, but nothing we can't handle. Nothing that's gonna get us down. What else? What else has been going on? Not too much, but yeah, Chili's on the road to court again, I guess. There's others. I mean, someone brought up Carolina and Fort Worth. I mean, yeah, you get your head bounced off the ground, essentially disfigured and disabled, and I mean, your life changes forever. So even if you get a big payout in the end, like, is there a lawsuit pending there, or is you just going to walk away with nothing and just nothing but damage to show for it? I mean, that's That's not what I would encourage. So yeah, it's not encouraging when you see how these state actors are able to behave, and there's no recourse for what's happening. There's no even hint that accountability is available or welcome. So we have seen some good trends though. The use of body cam on officers, dash cams. I mean, in general, I grew up in a time where we didn't live on camera all the time, but now you can't pretty much walk out your front door if you live in a big city without some camera picking you up, whether it's a ring camera or a flock camera or a license plate reader camera or intersection camera, just general surveillance cameras, private surveillance cameras, like cameras everywhere, everywhere. But yeah, I remember first watching on YouTube cop watcher content like Gavin Syme and others, and the response when the cops realized you were recording with your phone typically was to either destroy the phone or turn it off, and now that's the courts have ruled positively that that's a violation of the First Amendment to do that. You're just because you're in a uniform doesn't mean you're entitled to be hidden from scrutiny. So that was a positive trend, but there's not much more that I could say are wins for the cop watch or even First Amendment community type creators or advocates or activists. Tuapre, I guess, has changed the temperature a bit as far as recording in public. But that was kind of in a nonsensical way. But in general, yeah, the accountability kind of goes up to a point and stops. And it's like we don't get to the part where the real accountability needs to take place. Because even if you got the cops on camera smashing your head into the ground and a court rules it's a violation of your rights, you still walk away with nothing. So those cameras, as a tool, they're very limited in their effectiveness. So that's not terribly encouraging. But even if you got the evidence and you got them, quote unquote, dead to rights, you still haven't got them. They find a way to weasel away. So, okay. She already just refused to go before a magistrate and swear out a criminal complaint against Kruger. She already just refused to go and swear out. That's the law. We shouldn't ever want more unconstitutional nonsense, a warrantless arrest by police, yet literally everyone refused to go that route. Legal stuff devastated your family. Yeah, it could be a very divisive kind of route to take, this kind of activism. And there's a place for it, I guess, but going back to what I said a few minutes ago, Lane Myers was kind of the people's champion. I towards the end, he was getting a little carried away, and this isn't a diss against Lane, but he was tweaking hard, saying he was the chosen one and he was gonna be the one, and like they kind of said, oh, is that what you think, and they kind of showed him. So maybe the more effective route is to do the Badger thing and just troll them incessantly. What is it? He's got a warrant for $370. If you haven't been on Smurf Watch or Clash with Bao with the calling the court and calling the jail and calling the whoever will talk to him, and they call him a racist, and they call him, they're going to get the medical officer on him, and it's just priceless. Like, you're not going to get through to these people is kind of the point. And that's, I think, the reason Badger does it is to show, like, they're never going to get the point. But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear everybody's stories. I'm sure Mr. Osgood's got a story there. Yeah, I don't know the details of what Wassamattayu is blurting out there, babbling about Carolina, I guess. And talking about unconstitutional nonsense. I mean, it's sort of, the idea that we're going to get justice under the law is like, I just don't have a grid for that anymore. So if you still have a grid for that, I'm not saying it's wrong or incorrect or misguided. It's just, I'm kind of results oriented. What happened to CFW was very disturbing. Yes. Like, it's, to me, that's an example of a cut and dried case of police brutality, unwarranted. I mean, guaranteed win, right? Like, how would you think anybody could rule in the favor of the jurisdictional authority of the police on that day? But somehow Carolina walked away with just a handful of sand. They basically told her, you're free to go after you spend a few more nights in jail. So, which, you know, sort of ironic, sort of a little bit of humor in there, but yeah, the government doesn't get it. So, for the real law, yes, but not the scam law. My point is that if we refuse to follow the real law, how can we expect them to defer to it? Demonstrate the real law, I guess. I mean, what does that mean to you, the real law? Is it the words on paper that someone wrote? It's almost like a mythology at this point, saying anything is law. Law is what the authorities say it is. And maybe that's overly cynical, but I just don't. I don't know what you're referring to as the real law, as if it's something enshrined that we're just not smart enough to partake of, and we have to settle for this scam law. So everyone refused to go before a magistrate and swear out a criminal complaint, even though that's the written law. Possibly. Possibly. I'm conjecturing that people have done that and still I'd have to see results. If anybody's done that, you know, used that approach. I mean, our system is a little different up here. I'm a little familiar with the American system, and you know, we have a sovereignty clause, supremacy clause here as well. in our charter, our constitutional papers. But time and time again, any supremacy clause is generally ignored. I identify as a two-stroke. Well, that makes sense. Kennedy Walker has done that successfully. Well, we need to be going to Kennedy Walker's channel and finding out how to do it. Again, the string of successes I saw with Lane Myers, just using him as an example, he was racking up kind of success after success until he didn't. So I'm not familiar with Kennedy Walker or any of the situations that individual's been in, so I can't really say. But my feeling is you can get success up to a point, and then the system has a way of closing that loophole, if you will, I use scare quotes, in a way that doesn't violate your rights. So and that's what they did up here in Canada. They took away objections based on the supremacy clause in a way that a court will deem didn't violate anybody's rights. So it's just kicking the ball a little farther down, or kicking the can a little farther down the road, until the system comes up with a way to combat your legal strategy with their own strategy to neutralize it, according to the law, because that's, again, who gets to make the laws. So it's disturbing. I'm not saying I think that's a good thing, but that's all I've ever seen. All the evidence is that you do everything according to the law, and they find ways within the law to show that everything they did that violated your legal rights was justified. So more people definitely should watch his channel. He's becoming pretty ill though, so I don't know if he's still going, but he was standing on his rights, citizens arresting cops left and right. Just a badass. Well, that's good, but again, not being throwing a wet blanket on his efforts. Was like activism in this manner takes a certain amount of prowess, and even a certain little bit of tweakiness. And so yeah, I'm not interested in going to, I'm just saying it the way I see it, in that I'm not holding out hope that a legal revolution is going to come from a quick solution. Like the solution is like I stated about half an hour ago. It's going to require different tools. Now, having said that, this tool, I need to reload. I'm going to go reload with some Dr. Pepper. So I got that outside. So just hang tough. I'll be right back. You hear me pissing? You still connected? Yeah, that'd be a good thing to test, how far the range is on this mic. Let's see if it just I don't know how that works. Let's see. A nice cold Dr. Pepper. Are we still connected? Do we still have sound here? Let's see. Are we still connected? Do we still have sound here? We're connected. We're connected. You could hear the pissing? All right. So that's a half decent range. I was about 20 feet from the tweak shack here. Kinetic. That's the claim, is that that's the antenna range of one of these little Rode mics. So there we go. So I pulled a sneaky. I didn't tell you I was going to piss, but you guys all heard it. You all heard it. That was a good one. That was a really good one. Let's see. There's definitely also a strong argument for what you're saying there as well. But in the meantime, I mean, after all, you're talking about what's realistic. Do you think people are going to rise anytime soon? No. And again, I don't want to be a defeatist. And that's why I kind of advocate for just forge your own path, do your own thing. Like, there's ways to live in relative freedom. I don't know if there's such a thing as absolute freedom. This is kind of a philosophical talk. But it's like you can avoid a lot of the malarkey because I guess if there's a faith that one, either God's going to take care of it, but even if he doesn't, it's like the system is designed that it's going to consume itself at a certain point. We're starting to see the cracks where the whole scam superstructure is starting to crumble. And so just let that happen. And then we'll pick up the pieces of what remains and reconstruct something hopefully better. But if people are involved, possibly not likely, but there might be an event. I think Bao was talking about this, where suddenly everybody just sees it for what it is, and that may or may not happen. Even if it happens, well, then we'll have the revolution. But even if everybody doesn't get it, like, there'll be, unfortunately, fodder for war. There'll be I don't want to sound crass, but like the useful idiots will get consumed by the system in spite of being propped up by the system. You know, what's that phrase there? And like, there will be casualties, of a sense. But it's like the system is demonstrating almost daily that it can't, it's unsustainable. You know, people are fed up with the different agendas, whether for right or wrong. I mean, down in the States, I've been seeing announcements from the EPA. They're abandoning the Obama-era vehicle policies regarding emissions, and whatever you think about that situation with greenhouse gases, in one sense, all those policies are meant to hamstring economies and transfer wealth from the poor to the wealthy. Inflation is another method of diluting your financial power, if you want to think there is such a thing like that. And so people are just fed up with all of it. You know, here in Canada, I mentioned the other day, you know, there was a shooting and the shooter was referred to as a gun person. Like, people aren't having that. People aren't having that. There was like a follow-up on that. I don't recall the detail, but some foreign press agency broke another part of that Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia shooting that made a connection with the gun person in a way that our state-run media, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, is supposed to be independent media, supposed to be operating with the support of the government to inform the citizenry, but they're completely independent from the government. Well, they did no investigation, and so the scoop was provided by some foreign news agency. And that's how we get our news here. It's not broken by journalists that are paid to do journalism. It's broken once it hits Twitter or the internet by usually some foreign journalist who actually did some journalism. And I'm not saying they went to journalism school or have a media degree or any kind of degree, but they're doing actual journalism, and the source was from outside of Canada relating to pertinent information surrounding the gun person that our state-run media didn't even bother to investigate or didn't bother to follow up that there's more to the story than what has been shared already. So yeah, people are already voting in a way with their time. You know, you can vote with your dollars, you can vote at the ballot box, but you can vote with your money, you can vote with your dollars, but you can vote with your time, and people aren't paying attention to these traditional media sources, and they're going to the internet where you can get independent journalism. And that's where they're seeking out their source for news. So these different agencies, I'm going to call the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation an agency because they're a subset of the government at this point, and they're doing everything consistent with being a branch of the government, but claiming they're fully independent. So they're just demonstrating how ineffective, biased, and unworthy of your time they are. So again, I'm referring to Canadian examples. There's all kinds of American examples or various international examples. Like people are just not paying attention to the shenanigans that they're expected to just ingest, because that model worked in the past. It worked on my parents. It still works on people in my parents' generation. It's on TV. Well, it's got to be true. Well, that telescreen is only showing you so much, and if you have no desire to dig deeper and find out more of the story, well, you're just going to take what's fed to you. So a lot of these stories are not important to me. Like I don't care because, again, I've seen from the, not the bird's eye view, but I've seen from the mountaintop view. I haven't achieved anything, but I've seen more of the landscape, and that system, that fake system, is starting to self-implode or consume itself. And it's only a matter of time. Like once you recognize that it's unsustainable, you just wait for the inevitable collapse. So every person is a gun person. Most just don't realize, and what would make them realize it is if they had to put their own food on the table. How much do these darts cost per pack nowadays? Well, these are special darts. Here in BC, your average pack of smokes with all taxes in are about $20 a package. It varies between $17 or $18 for a 20 pack, up to maybe $22, depending on the brand. But these are special smokes, much cheaper than that. These are some exempt cigarettes. Yeah, I should start an app. Buy me a cigarette. Buy me a taxable cigarette. I could buy those premium brands. But yeah, if just in case you're not sure what I'm referring to, there was a shooting at a high school here last week, and I think this was the detail. The gun person was transitioned from born a male to now something else. And I don't know, I'm so unfamiliar with the story, but I think the gun person was taken down, whether by his own hand or the authorities. But he shot up his family, and then went to the school and shot up a bunch of other folks, and then tragedy, right? And so on the surface, it's like guns bad. Well, as it turns out, previously, within the last couple of months, I'm going to say, he had attempted to get rid of his family by burning down the family home. So that's not gun related. We're gonna make an attempt to take fire away from people now. It's like there's yeah, that's basically what we're doing here, Kinetic. The reservation stuff. The person was the problem, not the guns, not the fire. And our media refuses to make that acknowledgement in any kind of meaningful way. So it's like, what do you do with that? Like, people can see with their own eyes. Like, don't trust your lying eyes. You know, whether it was the medications, the SSRIs, or the antidepressants, or just the person was possibly depressed or had mental health issues to begin with. It wasn't the guns. It wasn't the this. It was everything but what they want to talk about. And people are noticing. You know, humans are noticers. Pattern recognition experts. So what do you do with that? Again, there will come a day when nobody has any trust in any authorities, and that could lead to mayhem. Like, is it wisest to get off grid and just do your own thing? Possibly. That could be the solution. But even within the society, again, scare quotes, society that we live in, I think you can stay hidden in plain sight if you've got a strategy of how to navigate yourself through the world. So, damn, I went and gone talking sense now. That's no good. I wanted to make this more of a tweak. Doing exactly the opposite of what I intended. But yeah, don't listen to me. I'm just some schmo in a Winnebago. But the false system that we live in is rapidly on the decline. So is it going to be replaced with something better? Well, that's where I get back to my discussion of Generation Alpha. You know, they're going to be the ones inheriting this shit show. The millennials and, I mean, Gen X, like we kind of got, and don't hear me, I'm turning myself into a victim. Like Gen X never was given the stage to do their thing. And that might be a good thing, because we might have wrecked things even worse. But the millennials are kind of good for nothing. Gen Z is essentially neutered, useless. I mean, there's factors working against them that have nothing to do with them. But I think Gen Alpha is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So it's. I guess the question is whether you try to groom them into that role or just let it happen. So I'm kind of the let it happen approach. And because you're gonna have to find a way to live one way or the other, whether you help or hinder or make a difference or don't make a difference, you still got to live. You know, you got to feed yourself and find a way to support your standard of living, however, whatever that may be. That's an individual choice. But yeah, it could mean securing some off-grid property and not relying on the system. But even that is kind of, I don't know if there's any guarantees built into that. There might be assumptions of the so-called security that may bring you. It's a topic for discussion. Let's put it that way. Because the reality is if you've got something that somebody else wants, well, you're responsible to, or you're the only one available to protect what you've got in the case of a kind of breakdown of all society and authority. So that takes a bit of mind adjustment or adjustment to your thinking to get in those frames of mind. So I think it's more fun to stealthily just dwell amongst the humans in their fake systems and just get the results you want in spite of the system rather than seek out security. I think security is a bit of a myth. A true sense of security. You're never going to be secure enough. You're never going to have enough. You're never going to be prepared enough. You're never going to, like, that's just kind of another one of those mythological creatures or concepts. So I could be wrong. There may be a way to just get out there and do it and not have to worry anymore. But I used to think that was a good strategy, but I don't know. I see some people getting results. It's not necessarily the results I'm interested. Not, I wouldn't say interested in. It's not the results I'd want for myself. I'm gonna have to just see if absolute security is a myth. I've been living off grid since 2009. I'll be fine. That's good. Skynet isn't gonna let them live. Yeah, so it's whatever, whether it's Skynet or the Matrix or whatever. Like you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. I don't have the answers. I just got Dr. Pepper and cheap smokes here. But as far as that security goes, you know, the government has been a formidable threat to most people's security, unless you know ways to ignore their influence and just take that security aspect into your own hands, not rely on the government to provide it for you. So I guess that's the strategy, is become your own independent security contractor and not subcontract your security, outsource it to the government, because they're completely unreliable at ensuring your security. So again, what that means in your particular context and situation is entirely an individual thing. I can't say do what I'm doing because that's not going to work for most people. So I'm just blurting out and tweak babbling on the internet what makes sense for me. If it gives someone out there ideas of a path to take, well, that's up to you to follow that path. I'm not saying this is the path, follow it. I'm kind of committed to my path, and I'm just gonna do whatever it takes, right? Because when it comes down to it, most people aren't interested in dirty deeds done dirt cheap. I know that's What's the Matter You's favorite song. But sometimes you may come to a point where that's your only option. So it's being prepared mentally that that's going to have to be employed as a mentality or an approach, but I'm not telling anybody what to do in their own situation. That's entirely up to you. I think I had romanticized in the past about just doing the off-grid self-sustainable thing, and in the absence of a community that's working how did that come through? In the absence of a community of people that can live and be a resource to one another, just going off and doing your own thing on your little hobby farm, it's just, that's not sustainable either. So the answer is somewhere in the middle. Like, we need some form of structure of society. And at the micro level, it's in a small community. I'm not saying living in community. You thought it was dirty knees, thunder deep? It could be. I might be mishearing the lyric, but security isn't a myth when you've got solar-powered, self-tracking, defensive pew-pews. Well, what if the sun's not shining? Then what? What if it's cloudy that day and your solar-powered, self-tracking, defensive pew-pews don't work? Again, if the route you want is to become a tech expert in hardware and software and programming and setting up all these systems, I'm not here to tell you that's right, wrong, or otherwise. You do you. What if it's cloudy that day is all I'm saying. Batteries. Well, what if you run out of batteries? Like, you just got a lifetime supply of batteries? Are they what, 9 volt or AA batteries, or like what? A car battery? You put a car battery on your self-tracking defensive pew-pews? I know nothing about setting up those kind of systems, so maybe it's super simple, but I'm not interested in getting up to speed on how to set all that up. It's just, it sounds like a lot of work. And that's something I avoid as much as I can. Effort, I don't mind effort, but that just sounds like a bunch of unpaid labor. you have a gravity water system to store tons of power, except in a time of a drought. And then I don't know what your water system is supposed to do. Store tons of power. So whatever. I don't know if you caught on, but we're just playing this game where every objection you come up with, I just refute. So we can keep playing this game if you like, but eventually you're going to get tired of it. So do the power storage, do the solar off-grid, self-tracking, battery-powered, pew blah blah. No drought in the mountains. Well, what if you're like me and you're not? What if you're nowhere near a mountain? What if you're like the poor people in Manitoba where mountains don't exist? The poor schmucks on the prairies. Then what? So yeah, in your particular context, it might be fine, but it's sort of I don't know. Maybe you've got that all set up and it's just running like a well-oiled machine, but then you're screwed. Yeah. So that's why I don't try to offer hope to anybody with the systems they can employ. It's more about employing a mindset that you're resilient, you're unfuckwithable, ungovernable kind of thing, you know. If that makes any sense, is that resonating with anybody? So it might require some ingenuity, some mental effort, some mental toil to figure out what's going to work in your situation. If you've got to figure it out and your water-powered systems that store tons of power works, well, I mean, have at it. But there's no one size fits all. It is a matter of changing your thinking. And at the risk of repeating myself, if you settle it in your mind that everything is a scam, and then approach what you do in that context, well, it makes things a little bit more fun. You don't fall for the scams. You instead start to create your own. And thank the Lord, I have a PLC. I don't know what a PLC is. Let's just check on the weather here. Let's see if it's still snowing. Well, looks like it's snow is starting to die down. Right about on schedule. What did I say, about back at an hour and a half ago, I said it'd be done around 2 o'clock. So I think that's pretty close to being accurate. Let's just check the old weather app here. Let's just see here. By the way, your phone passwords, if you just got 6 digits on your phone password, that could be unlocked in a matter of seconds through software. So you use about 10 random alphanumeric and symbolic characters in your phone password, just a sense of security there. So it is much harder to get into your phone than if you just have 6 digits you punch in. That's pretty easily hackable. Yeah, so okay, it's 0 degrees and it looks like the snow may have passed. So I think I'm going to shut this down and get back to work on the old power joke. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's showing clear skies here. Next little while. Where am I? Yeah, so I'll go fasten some pieces back onto the Ford. I've got my system all set up and working so perfectly I don't even need to worry about mosquitoes. They get pew-pewed right. Well, that's fantastic. Is it those fancy Bill Gates Nipah virus mosquitoes, or is it those GMO mosquitoes? Because those are nasty little buggers. Little biological vaccinating army of essentially drone slaves, biological slave army to do the will of our overlords. So, yeah, forget No King's Day, No Mosquitoes Day. That's what I'm. No King's Day. Yeah, you're probably gonna never get rid of kings entirely, but No Mosquitoes Day. I could get behind that protest. And if it takes self-guiding pew-pews, then that might be what it takes. But in any case, let's shut this down. Battery is running low, telling me to get on out there and do some toil and labor, and let's get that truck running. So I'll follow up with you guys next time. Stay tweaky. Stop, stop, stop. There we go.